Well, hello everybody, Chris from Wicked Repairs here. I got another video coming at you with a 2001 Yamaha GP1200R Waverunner. Flip you around here. And what we have here is a no start. And when you try to start it, the cable down at the starter was smoking. So I took it apart and the starter motor is seized up. The nuts are all frozen up and the cable end is in extremely poor condition. Okay, so we're going to replace the cable end and we're also going to install the starter. So these are the bolts. It's a 12mm socket for the starter that holds the starter down to the motor, and it is below your manifold here. So the starter is basically all the way down, kind of through this and in. Okay, so you have to kind of reach down there. I reach just beyond this hose and underneath to be able to get to the bolts. It's extremely difficult. One thing that's very important is when you install it, always make sure you connect the cable first to the starter, because once the starter is mounted, you can't connect this cable. It's like it's impossible to get a wrench or anything in there to tighten up the nut after. So always make sure you remove your positive battery terminal, if not both. I had this removed and charging anyhow, so I haven't connected it yet. So we're going to replace this cable end. We're going to replace a starter. It is a niche starter, N-I-C-H-E. I put Never Sees already all over the O-ring. You can put grease, Never Sees, whatever. I like Never Sees because it keeps corrosion down. I do have dielectric grease, as the terminal is going to get dielectric grease here with the boot over it when it gets connected. Always dielectric grease, everything on Waverunners like that. We have a 12mm socket, a 10mm socket, that's for the nut on the starter. I got a number 3 Phillips for the battery terminals, and I'll snug them down with the 10mm after. And we have stuff to replace the cable end, so we're going to do that. So you can see we have our new cable end on there now. And always want to make sure when you clamp that down, crimp it down, make sure you tug on the wire real good, make sure it's in there, of course. And when you put the nut on here, you're going to kind of want to have it's going to be mounted basically this way. So you're going to want it kind of straight back to slightly down a little bit. If you have it up when you tighten it, this way compared to the starter, it will hit your manifold and you're going to have to take it back out and redo it. So always make sure it's kind of straight back or slightly down like this at a little bit of an angle away from where the manifold comes, because it is extremely tight fit. And so as I said, we're going to take some dielectric grease, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the terminal here. I'll probably put it down along the wire as well. I'm going to need both hands for this. I'm holding my phone, so I'm just going to pull this boot over and cover the terminal, and we're going to slide the starter in, bolt it in with the 2 bolts it has, and then we're going to start it. Alright, so the starter's in. It took a little bit longer than I hoped and than I expected. I went through, so the top bolt went in okay on the starter, the bottom one did not. This is what comes in there, and I think what's happening is that where it mounted into the motor, these first few threads are all stripped out on the motor. So, and then after that was okay. So those first few threads were stripped out, so when this went in and bottomed out against the starter, it had like a half a thread to grab, and it kept slipping and slipping. So I was like, geez. So I took it apart, went and got a 8x 1.25 tap, and I cleaned out all the threads in there. And what I did was I wound up getting another stainless bolt that was about, I don't know, that long or so, with a little collar on it, and I put a washer and a lock washer on it, and it worked perfectly. So it was just those few threads, I think, that are stripped out at the very beginning, and then after that was fine. I just connected the battery, which I put dielectric grease here. Yamaha also does highly recommend that you don't actually use a sealed battery in their Waverunners because of the charging system, because they roll over, because of a few different reasons. They want you to use a battery acid filled vented battery, not one that's filled that turns to a gel cell. So always keep that in mind. Always keep your terminals greased so that they don't seize or anything like that. We're gonna give this thing a go. So that's it. We're done here with this machine, installing a new starter. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. 2001 Yamaha GP1200R, and most of the Yamaha motors are like this, all the 1200s. You know, starters basically in the same location and everything. So hope you enjoy the video. Thanks. Give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe.